Okay, good morning. So, yes, welcome to the next class, the cover up class. So, yeah, so let's start. Let's jump into software and let's try to do a speed run again to finish this unit done. Okay, super. So, during the last class, we talked about few points about memory modules, and just to give a quick recap, we talked about storage devices and memory modules and different types of CDs and how the data is stored. Okay, so I'll start from this point where we talked about the hard disks, because I think we didn't go very in depth on this. Okay, so a hard disk, okay, in simple terms, you can see these hard disks. Okay, so whatever the type of hard disk we use, so I think I should have a hard disk here. Yeah, okay, I do have one with me. Okay, so this is, I know this is a bit dirty. So this is a hard disk. During one of the classes, I actually showed you guys this hard disk and how it works. Okay, so okay, super. So just to show you this, the specification. So if you look at this, you can see that there is a certain RPM mentioned here. See this RPM speeds. Okay, so how it works is, now inside the hard disk we do have these round platters. Okay, we call them platters, where they will literally spin around using a motor. So if you look at this one, here you have this small motor device, right? So the motor is connected to the control board. This is the control board, and this will literally rotate these platters. Okay, so these are the platters we have. So this rotation, so these are the platters. So this rotation, how it works is, this is a magnetic, something like a magnetic plate, where it has small partitions or small sectors created in a way. Okay, so what happens is, when the arm, when this particular arm moves back and forth, so this arm moves back and forth like this, so it will literally move along this direction, right, like this, and the platter will keep on rotating like this. So when this rotation happens, how it works is, this will change the magnetic polarity in those particular dots. So just think, this has couple of thousand small blocks in them. Okay, and how it works is, these small blocks, this particular system will change the polarity of that block. So as you guys know, binary is saved as ones and zeros. So this particular data automatically changes this ones and zero order. Okay? So how it works is, in order for this to read, this has to rotate, right? So in that hard disk, the one I showed you, that has the typical rotation speed of 7,200 rounds per minute. Okay, so that is the RPM speed. So what happens is, when this is rotated, this particular rounds per minute, then the data can be read. Okay, so that is how this system works. So now, that is one of the reasons these magnetic storages are actually not that fast. So the thing is, since it has to go round or spin, your hard disk needs to slowly read the data. Okay? That's why earlier days, when we had nowadays most of the computers, they do come with solid state drives, SSDs, or M.2 SSDs, which is the NVMe model, which is the latest type of storage. But earlier, when we were using these, it was actually really slow. I mean, not that slow, but yes, there was a delay. Okay, so that was not technically let's say, visible most of the time because of the speeds and all. But then again, when you play games or when you're trying to watch a high definition movie or something like that, then we had a certain delay because of that particular reason, because it took more time to read the data because of the spinning process. But then again, keep in mind, because now still for these small M.2 SSDs and all, there is a certain, let's say, memory limit. So if you want to have a huge hard disk, let's say somewhere around 8 terabytes, that's not practically possible to do that, because these drives are technically, sorry, that is expensive, but these drives are less expensive compared to the storage what you are going to get. Okay, so still most of the like, let's say, big servers and applications, they do use these type of magnetic hard disks, because number one, it is due to the cost effectiveness, plus other way around, the thing is, it will make sure that the storage is properly saved. So that's how it works. And then we talked about optical media. This is of course something you guys already know. So we do have CDs, we have DVDs and Blu-ray. So CDs were basically implemented a long time ago, where we had a storage limit of 700 megabytes. So you can't have anything more than 700 megabytes on a CD, a compact discs. But then we got DVDs. So DVDs, they gave us a massive improvement from CDs, because the CDs supported only 720 megabytes, and then the DVDs had the support of having 4.7 gigabytes. Okay, and then it's not mentioned here, but there was a it is mentioned here. So there were some CDs. No, it is not mentioned here. There were some CDs which can go up to about 12 gigabytes. So that was a different type of a DVD where the compression ratio was much higher. And also there were double side DVDs. But long time ago, not very long, about 10 years ago, we had movies where you had to switch the CD. So you put the CD one side and you watch the movie, and to watch the second part of the movie, you have to take the CD out and you have to flip it and put it on the other side. Okay, so that was actually done to make sure the quality is preserved, because the DVDs, they actually introduced the high definition movie format, which was quite a big thing back then. Okay, and then Blu-rays were introduced. So Blu-rays gave a big boost into this, where they started with some at around 25 gigabytes of storage per CD, per disc. Okay, so I'm not sure whether we have 3D TVs anymore, because there was a period where we had 3D TVs where you had to wear the glasses.
We had one.
Sorry?
Had one. Sir, we had one.
You had one. Okay. But nowadays we don't find 3D movies also, no? Those days everything was 3D. Like wherever you go and whenever you go and buy a movie, you normally get the 3D version out of it. But now I think it's mostly dying. I think the 3D TVs and 3D technology is now almost restricted to cinemas. So and then Rina, do you know PlayStation 3 had 3D games? PlayStation 3 had so PlayStation 3 was released for Sony 3D TVs. So if you had a Sony 3D TV, you had the option of connecting the PlayStation and playing 3D games on it. One of my friends had a PlayStation 3 and a Bravia 3D TV back then, and we used to play Mortal Kombat on 3D. See, that's a next level experience. You can see all the, like, when when you hit a punch, you can see all these things getting off and jumping out of the TV. All this stuff. Quite a good experience, but I think hari karadare kannadi daannone, you have to charge the glasses. Those days those glasses have to be charged also ne. අර මෙහෙම TV එකෙන් wire එකක් කරන් කාඩ් මේකට ගහගන්න ඕනේ. I mean this is in somewhere in 2008 2009, long time ago. So then I think now Dina, do we get 3D games? No, right? We get VR games.
Yes, sir. We are.
VR is there. No, yeah. So I haven't seen any 3D games anymore. So that was kind of scrapped out then. So, but then again, so the reason all these 3D games and all these things came out was because of the storage. Because Blu-ray had a high storage limit, and that is where that point was introduced. So here, what you guys can see is the size of a sector which is on a CD. Okay, so we have the CD size, and we have the DVD, and we have the Blu-ray. So this is in microns. So the thing is, so when you look at this, you will easily understand the difference. So see, now let's say if this is 1 bit, okay, see the difference. So if this was 1 bit, since a CD size didn't change, size එක මෙහෙම තිබ්බ එක මෙහෙම වුන්නේ නැහැ නේ. So the size is the same. So what happened was, with the advancements of technology, we were able to increase the number of bits or the number of sectors we can write on a CD. So it started from this particular size. So that was the maximum size. So that means the capacity was restricted. Maximum we had to go was, we were able to go maximum was 700 megabytes. And then DVDs introduced a smaller footprint, which enabled to, let's say, about increase the size about 4-5 times. And then DVDs introduced the Blu-ray introduced a higher, smaller version, which allowed us to have more data. Okay, you guys won't believe this. Long time ago, long time can ගොඩක් ඉස්සර. So back in 1999, yeah, back in 1999, I had a Pentium machine, and in this Pentium machine, the hard disk was 1.1 gigabyte. Okay, Windows XP, Windows 98 run. So I always try to copy, like when I get a movie, I try to copy that file. Okay, so when I copy the file into the hard disk, that's it. The hard disk space runs out. So I was only able to copy one movie in my hard disk at a time. ඉතින් එකක් හම්බුනාම ඔක කොපි කරගෙන ඔක 10 පාරක් විතර බලනවා ෆිල්ම් එක. ඉතින් වෙන කරන්න දෙයක්වත් නැහැ. That was back then, but now you can copy, I don't know, like let's say about 500-600 movies on a hard disk because of the storage capacity increase. Okay, so then flash media, as you guys know, flash media is basically flash drives and small energy efficient media files, media devices where you have the storage, right? So your phone might have storage, your camera might use a flash card, so and so forth. So every particular device will have its own different types of storage devices which will related to the flash media. So just keep in mind, so this flash storage, when we call it flash media, there are different types of flash media as well. අපි දැකලා තියෙන අර චුටි SD cards විතරනේ. SD cards උනාට there are different types of SD cards, and if you take this high-end cameras, high-end Sony cameras and all, Sony and whatnot, all these digital cameras, some do have different types of storage allocations. So they allow you to have more storage and so on and so forth. So that's about flash media. So then we need to know about magnetic tapes also. So magnetic tapes, this is also something very important, where we use this to store big amounts of data. Okay, so example is we still use this, so not this type of big tapes, but we still use tape drives. So example is let's say when you want to back up now, these are being used in big companies and large organizations where they have thousands and thousands of data to save. Okay, so what happens is when you save the data, you save it on a tape. Okay, and this tape allows you to save couple of gigabytes of data, like sometimes it can go up to terabytes, because it will be writing the data into this particular tape. Okay, so it's the form factor is small. Form factor again size එක ගොඩක් පොඩි then, but then again the capacity has gone up. But there is a problem. Can you guys think what's the actual problem when it comes to the magnetic tapes? Any suggestions? මොකද හිතන්නේ? Magnetic tapes වල මොකද්ද තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ? Dinal, what do you think?
So like they get angled.
No, not physical issues. No, not a physical issue. But there is a problem. Nika hitaraba මොකක්ද issue එක? Azman, what do you think? What type of a primary issue can be there of a tape drive? Okay, I'll explain that. Make a dhammahama. Now, when you start reading data from a tape drive, it's always has to go in a linear process, right? Linear process means it's a tape, no? So you can't go back. You have to read it at once. මේ ටේප් එක මුලින් ඉඳන් අගට රීඩ් කරන්න ඕනේ. ඔයාට ආයි හිතමු මේ let's say if it is a hard disk or a CD, you can get data from here or you can get data from here, right? Because since it's spinning, all you need to do is just change the location. No? But here this is a tape. So tape means you have to read always, you have to read from the start to end. So that means you cannot use this type of tapes or tape storage for regular data access. Hard disk එකක් වගේ regular access කරන්න බෑ, because you have to start from one place and you have to go to another place. So it will be a linear access process. Okay, so that's the main disadvantage of a tape storage device. Okay, so just to get a clear idea about the gigabytes and the storages, so you guys can see we have a small table here. So in the table you can see hard disks are fast, obviously, and if you take the flash media, that is the fastest, because that is there are no moving parts in it. It's just the data stored on set of transistors. So that will just when you're reading it, you just need to send electricity and you get the data back, right? So it's really fast. And if you take it the other way around, optical media again, that is slow, because you have to read, no? You have to turn the disk and you have to place a light, get the reflection back and get the data, right? That is slow. But the most slowest is the magnetic tape, because you can't just rush through it or jump to a specific location, because you have to gradually go through it step by step. So maximum capacity hard disks, there's a certain capacity. So this says 100 and මේක නම් පොඩ්ඩක් පරණයි. This says 128 GB. Normally you can, now I think you have hard disks up to about 8 GB if I'm not mistaken, and flash media you have up to 1 TB, and CDs, Blu-ray, I think as far as I know there are some Blu-ray devices which can go up to about 100 gigabytes. It depends. Okay, and magnetic tapes, they are like next level. they can go up to about couple of 100 terabytes. So which will be basically able to store a massive lot of data, right? So the cost per GB, if you take it like this, then obviously magnetic tapes would be the lowest, because one tape can hold up to massive lot of data. So usage wise, hard disks are basically used on day-to-day computers, servers, wherever we will be using using it to store some data, right? But flash devices, flash media, normally we don't use that in servers. So mostly that will be used in laptops and mobile phones, handheld gaming devices, and gaming consoles, and so on and so forth. Optical media, as you guys know, that is mainly for multimedia, so games, movies, and music, and so on and so forth, as well as backing up. So this will allow you to back up files easily. You put the data set in and you have the option of backing up. Magnetic tape is completely something different, where we use magnetic tape to servers, backup servers. So example is, as far as I know, I have seen this long time ago. So there was this, so this was actually before we got high speed internet lines. So we were actually, so my parents had a factory, and they used to make soft toys. So so we were one of the suppliers of Arpico. So time to time we used to go to Arpico, and we used to restock, so give them the stock. So how they did it was, they had a storage facility in Piliyandala, I believe. And then every day what happens is, when they take the stock in, a person with a tape drive, they take all the backups of that particular day, where they take all the information about all the stocks which they received during that day, and then they take it, and then and one person takes the tape drive and goes to Navinna and loads it back. Okay. Because of the storage capacity, they use tape drives. So every time when we add some stocks in, we have to wait until a day or two for them to get that stocks into the system, because that person had to physically take the tape drive, go to the location, go to their head office, plug it in, and load the data into the system. Then only that data was properly organized and reloaded into the system. So it's a big task, but nowadays I think everything is connected through internet, so that particular thing does not happen right now. But yes, that is how they use hard drives. Okay, so just to wrap up this part, you need to keep in mind, so here we have a table of all the storage sizes. Okay, so you have to keep in mind, so this is how we make the calculations. So here you can see the number of bytes. So 1000 bytes is 1 kilobyte, and 100,000 bytes, 1 million bytes is 1 megabyte. Likewise, it goes up to gigabytes and terabytes. So usually this is how the validation and the calculation works. So you do not need to basically understand all the units, but you just need to make sure that you understand up to terabytes. But after that, as the book also says, for the IGSCE, international IGSCE, GCSEs, we do not go into this particular level, where we talk about petabytes, peta, extra, zeta, and iota. Okay. So if you check this in a different way, 1 kilobyte, 1024 kilobytes equals to 1 megabyte. 1000 MB is likewise 1 GB, and likewise that's how it goes forward. Okay, so that's the that's about storage devices. Okay, any questions so far, Dina? මොනවද තියෙනවද ප්‍රශ්න? Anything?
No, sir.
Okay, husband, you also okay? Any questions?
Also, no question.
Okay, perfect. Then let's jump into softwares. So software also, guys, this is straightforward. We are talking about software systems, and we talk about few important points about how software is structured and what type of softwares we use on day-to-day basis to make sure our systems stay active. Okay, so let's see how it works. So software, as we all know, softwares are the end product which we will use to interact with the computer, right? So we have hardware. So on top of hardware we do use software, because we can't, as I have explained to you guys before as well, we cannot speak the hardware language, no? So that means we can't talk with a computer without knowing the particular software, without knowing how to communicate. So that means we will be using the software as a base to communicate with the application. So example is, the best example would be, if you are listening to a song, so I will be using a microphone. So this microphone will convert my voice into digital data, and the digital data will be saved in the hard disk, right? That conversion process, the sound has to be received, and the sound has to be analyzed, cleaned up, and then it has to be converted, right? So that entire process is being handled by software. So this is hardware, and then it will go through the software layer, and again what happens, it's going to get saved onto a disk, which is again being used based on software, right? So that's the cycle. That is how it's going to work out, right? So now when it comes to, so that is a typical example of software, but when it comes to applications, we have two different types of software applications. Primarily we have the system software. So the system software is what we use to run our application. Okay, so it's something like, if you take a, what you can say, okay, so if you take your hardware, if you take your systems hardware, you need to have the system software to basically communicate and control the hardware, and on top of that we use application software to run our applications. Example would be, let's say if you take you guys know about VGA card drivers, right? So if you have a VGA card, in order for you to use that graphic card, you need to have drivers. So the drivers acts as the system software layer. So it will basically make sure that your system has access to the hardware, and the other way around, what will happen is, you will install a game or some sort of a graphic tool. It will basically communicate with the system software saying, hey, can I get access to your hardware, right? So that is how the levels work. So we'll be learning about system software. Okay, so system software, one second, nice, okay. So when it comes to system software, there are few applications which your operating system will regularly use to keep your system up and running. Okay, so primarily we have the backup systems, where it will basically back up your Windows or your operating system to make sure that your system runs in a proper stage. Okay, so we will be learning about more about these backups when we jump into the unit 3, when we get into that part. We'll be going in depth in it, but for the moment just remember, so backup is something which we will basically use to save a copy of our system, right? So in a way how it works is, now example is in Windows, you guys know that when you install something, when you install a software, or when you do some sort of a system level change, in Windows they do have a system called Windows recovery. Okay, so Windows recovery, how it will do is, it will save a particular point in the operating system, so that it will keep a backup point of whatever the software which was running at that time in the database, in your hard disk. Okay, so that's going to be a database which is going to be saved in your hard disk. So if something happens, let's say something happens to the computer, and you had to roll back to where you were before, right? If you get into that type of a problem, just like that, this will allow you to recall all the changes which you have done up to that point and go back. Okay, so that is quite interesting, and it will make sure that your system is quite safe, right? Because if by any chance, by installing a software, if it gets damaged, this Windows recovery will let you actually go back. Okay, so that's the idea behind backups. Then we talk about defragmentation. Okay, so defragmentation is something which you don't see very often, because you don't see it happens in the system, and this is something which happens behind the scenes. Okay, so how does it work? It's in a specific, okay, you have a specific example which you can see here. Okay, so just think your hard disk as a book cupboard, okay, a book cabinet like this, right? So if you take a look at this one, you can see now all these books are not sorted orderly, right? You can see volume 1 is here, volume 2 is here, volume 3, volume 4, volume 5, and likewise, right? So all the books are in different places. Now if I ask one of you guys to find a specific book, it is going to be a little bit of a hard task, right? Because the books are all scattered around the place, and it will basically, it will kind of make it harder to exactly find out where the book is. I know you can find it. That's not going to be a problem, but the thing is, it's going to take you some time, right? Because දැක්ක හැටි කියන්න බෑ මෙතන තියෙන කියලා, right? Because you have to check, you have to specifically look for it, and then you can find it. So your hard disk is similar to this. So what happens is, when you keep on changing the points of the books, then what happens is, when you keep on accessing the give me 1 second. Yeah, thanks. So when you keep on accessing the data in the hard disk, the order of the books are representing the data points in your hard drive. Okay, so what happens is, let's say you keep on deleting, moving, copying files here and there, and so on and so forth, right? When this happens, this particular structure automatically gets jumbled up, right? It automatically changes. So when this structure changes, now we get into a problem, because ideally the accessing order also gets changed, because the core structure is not exactly done. So let's say you access one file and later on you copy it and you put it into another folder. So let's say if this guy was here, this guy was there, and then when you copy paste him, the physical location of the hard disk changes. So then automatically these sectors get scattered around the disk. ඕක වැඩේ වෙන්නේ ඔහොම scatter වුණාට පස්සේ next time when you're going to read this, let's say this is basically written on a disk, on a literally disk, no, a physical, sorry, this is written on a physical disk, no. So that means if one point is here and the other point is here, make a රවුමක් කියලා. හරි. So if one data point is here and the other point is there, and if you have another point in a different location, that means in order to read all the points together, you have to go through couple of cycles, right? මේක 10 පාරක් විතර කරකින්න ඕනේ අර points 4 5 හොයාගන්න. Right? That's the problem. So in order to prevent it, what happens is we have a method where we defragment. So the system will automatically defragment and your operating system will know, okay, this guy belongs here, this guy belongs here, this guy belongs here. Likewise, it will restructure all the data in a proper way. So when you do this, then when you're accessing the file, you know, okay, volume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Done. Right? Likewise, it's really easy for the system to analyze it. Okay, so nowadays you don't see this running, but back in the day, this defragmentation was a big problem for us. So we used to run defragmentation every now and then because the hard disk was really small. No? So if that gets defragmented, automatically the speed of the computer goes down. But now with the latest devices like NVMe drives and M.2 SSDs and all, now this is not that let's say talked about, right? Because this is something which happens automatically behind the scenes. But then again, remember the idea, defragmentation. So what it does is it resorts all the files, all the data points, and make sure it's in a proper structure. Dinal and Asman, you guys got the idea, right? Any questions? Okay, okay, because this defragmenting usually comes in a question, na? So that is the basic point. Like what we went through was the basic idea. So, but you do get this in questions. So you can try this out. Just search as defragmentation on your defrag on your machine, and you will find the defragmentation software, which will then allow you to do this. So then after defragmentation, we talk about compression. Okay, so compression, you guys literally know, as the name implies, compression means that we basically take a file, some sort of a file with an original size, and we use it to make it smaller, right? We take the file size and we reduce the file size to make it a smaller file, right? So now there are a couple of patterns on doing this. So we are not going to go very in depth of this, but I hope you guys have learned this already when you were in grade 8, because in grade 8 we do talk about these defragmentation points. Okay, so now if you take this up, you can see that there are like different options of compression. Now example is if you take this compression mechanism called run length encoding, what this does is this will basically look for similar repetitive items. Okay. Now see, you can if you go through this list of items, you can see this goes as A 8 times, B 6 times, and C 2 times, right? So now when you look at this in a particular manner, you can see that this is actually something which you can compress into couple of characters by just calculating the number of items. So example is, now when you go through this, you can see we have 8 A's, right, and 6 B's and 2 C's, right? So when we go through this matter, see how the compression worked. Now this was the original data set, and this original data set was compressed into a small 6 character data set. Okay, so this is technically what it does is it technically compresses the number of items. So if you take a look at the earlier one, this top example, this has multiple data points in it, right? So we take all this data and we make it very small into 6 points. ඒක වාසිය තියෙන්නේ ඔය කරාම without losing any data we can compress it. So there are multiple different compression algorithms. Now example is if you take a game, all this that's why games have this huge loading time, but nowadays the loading time is actually a little bit less because we have high end faster hard disk hardware, and but then again if you take different if you take a PC game, then it normally takes some time to uncompress. So what it does is all these assets are compressed, and when you want to use it, then there's going to be a decompression algorithm which will decompress the data set. Rinal, in your PlayStation PS5, can you increase the storage?
Sir, how, like,
You can, right? You can upgrade the storage, I think.
yes, sir.
Galawala upgrade can't pull on. I have seen couple of videos, but you have to remove all the
Oh, yeah.
casing and all.
The panel, and we had to.
Panel, and you can upgrade it. Yeah, that's the thing. So I think it comes with 512 or 1 terabyte. What's the storage?
I did.
512. 512 GB. Ah, okay. So that means you can remove it and upgrade it up to 1 terabyte. That's true. 512, how many games can you install in 512?
I didn't check that, but now I have like 60 left.
60 GB left.
Yes.
Appa. Okay. How many do you have? How many games do you have?
I can't remember.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, so what, how the PlayStation works is something similar to this. So, when you initially put the CD in, Blu-ray disc in, that would, that installing part goes on. So, what it does is, it copies the primary game code, which is required to run the game, into the hard disk. So, after that, it leaves all the rest of the data, like the, what do you call it, like your images, videos, songs, sound, all the assets on the CD. So that's why you need the CD to play the game. So then when you put the CD in, and then when you start the game, it automatically loads the game files from the disk temporarily to the memory, to the RAM, and from there it starts. So that's why if you download a game from PlayStation to PSN, and if you run it on your device itself, it is much faster. Loading times are really fast. Almost there's no loading times. So that's the way it works. And at the same time, this compression system is also there, because that would automatically compress and keep all these assets, so that next time when you want to read it, then these assets will be automatically decompressed, and it will be sent out. Okay, so that's how the process works. So that's how compression works as well. I hope you guys got an idea about the main flow. Then we talk about formatting. Have you guys formatted the hard disk? Format kala dena?
No, sir.
Are you? Okay. Have you installed Windows on a hard PC?
I don't think so.
එහෙම බෑ මකලා දාන්න අල්ලලා. So find a Windows installation and install it. Try it out. You might break it, yeah, but then again, no problem. You can break it and you can install it back again. Find a tutorial and you can easily find out how to do that. So try this out and learn how it works, because quite interesting stuff. Huh? You will learn a lot of things about hardware, how to install, how to format, and you will learn about all those data points, because that would make it easier for you to understand how it works. So quickly speaking, so now when it comes to formatting, the idea behind formatting is different operating systems and different applications, they use a certain type of file systems. Okay, so file systems means that it's like this. So depending on the hard disk or your storage device, we need to have a method of writing the data, right? Writing the data means it's let's say you have a have you guys played with Lego? Ah, yeah, perfect. Okay,
Yes, sir.
perfect. So since you know about Legos, now Legos have a certain set of structures, right? So where you have the small blocks and it will fix with that particular Lego structure. So similar to that, a file system allows you to put files or the data points in a specific structure. So like if you take a flat Lego board and where you start building on it, you have like this small kind of like what do you call this points? You know what I'm talking about. No? So you have those points where then you put the Lego piece and you put it on. So you can fix it at any different angle, but as long as that piece is in that particular let's say size or shape, you can put it in, right? Similar to that, when you are putting data or pushing data to a hard disk, there is a specific order which this data has to be in. So that order is known as the file system. Okay, so file systems, different operating systems, OSs, they use different types of file systems. So Microsoft Windows, now we are using the file system called NTFS, the new technology file system. But back then we have used couple of different file systems called FAT32, and so on and so forth. And at the same time, Linux, they use a different file system which is known as extension, EXT. So extension file systems, that is one more thing. And at the same time, Apple uses a different file system called APFS. APFS means Apple file system, right? So likewise, different applications, they do have their own file systems. So what happens is, in order for your hard disk to be in order for your hard disk to contain this file system, you need to do something called formatting. So what you do is you get the hard disk and you format the hard disk to make sure that your hard disk will support this file system. Okay, but be careful, when you format the hard disk, all your data is going to get lost. Okay, so formatting means you erase the disk and then you change the system according to whatever the file system you want. So don't try to do this on your hard disks on your laptop unless you really want to erase all your data, because now you have to make sure that you select the correct file system as well. And then if you try to format it, you're going to get a message like this. It will ask you, are you absolutely sure you want to destroy all the data on the drive? Because when you run this, it will just like that, it will destroy and wipe all the data out. Okay, this would literally erase your hard disk in simple terms. So you cannot format your Windows drive or your primary drive, which most of the time it would be called as C drive, but you can't delete it. But then again, if you format a different drive, you are going to technically lose all the data. Okay, so sometimes formatting will not erase the data completely, and there can be still a chance for you to recover the data using some special tools. But there are some different types of formatting which will take more time and it will erase the data as well. So what I can say is it's better not try it out, because you have a chance of losing the data if you make a mistake. Okay, so just need to make sure that you don't damage the data that easily, right? So now yeah, so that's the idea behind about the formatting. So now we learned about few things, right? So now we learn about the point. So this is the point which I started explaining you guys from earlier. So usually when it comes to a system, we do have the hardware layer, and we have the system software layer, and we have the operating system, and we have the application system, and all on top of all, we are there as human users, where we will interact with the system, right? This is the typical structure on how it is going to work out. So now we'll be talking about another two different operating systems where you have few features. Okay, so like if you take a single user operating system, what it will do is it will only allow for a general user to actually use it, and it will not give the ability for the user to customize things and add different users. So now this is usually something what you find in most of your normal home devices. Even if you take a PlayStation, the PlayStation has a operating system in it, right? So this PlayStation operating system also falls under the category as a single use operating system. Why? Because that is created in a way so that it will only work with a single user. So you turn it on, you log it in using your PSN, and you play games, right? Simple as that. And if you take your TV's operating system, that is also the same thing. No? You turn it on. If you have Google account logged in, then you log in through Google, and done deal. If you don't have user account logged into the system, then also that's perfectly fine. You can still use the application as it is, right? So that way, this will make sure that the user is safe and the user is controlled in a specific way, so that you will not be making any mistakes. But when it comes to big applications and enterprise level things, you cannot do it like that, right? So for that type of applications, what we do is we normally go forward with network operating systems. So they have additional functionalities which will include like different features where you can send requests to new servers, separate user accounts, as well as provide access for different network devices. Example is this will basically let you, let's say when it comes to corporate environment, so big offices, we go with network based operating systems because this will let us control the device. Example is, okay, so let's say in my company, if Dinal and husband is working, let's say one day the husband wants to use Dinal's PC. We can't do that now. When it comes to a single use operating system, that's going to be a little bit of a hassle, right? Because I'll have to give a call to Dinal, ask his password and let him log in, and at the same time Dinal won't like husband logging into his account because it's his personal access point, right? So but in the industry what we do is we keep the user counts in a different, let's say in a different level, so that if by any chance if I want to log into Dinal's PC, I can log in using my credentials. So the network authentication is being done or validated from a different server, and I get to access Dinal's PC through that access path. So this will make sure that all the PCs runs on the same layer. So let's say if Dinal leaves the company today and a new person comes in, then for that person also, we don't need to repair anything in the PC. We just create a new account and he or she starts working on it. Simple as that. So that's why we have two different types of systems. So that is based on the operating systems. Now, again, we talk about another core point, which is memory management. Okay, so memory management is also part of the system software, or basically the operating system, where how it will do is it will be the part who is in charge of managing the memory allocation. Okay, so when some sort of an application is using the data, you need to have a method to basically make sure that the memory allocation, the required memory, is allocated to that software. Okay, so example is let's say you open up a Word document on your PC and you double click and you open it. So when you open the Word document, a certain amount of RAM memory is required to open and load the contents of that Word file, right? So the memory is basically a hardware component. So that means it does not have any sort of a, let's say, automatic assignment part allocated to it. So the only way the system can do this is by using or tapping into the memory allocation or the memory management system. So in simple terms, when you open a Word document, your operating system will tell the memory, hey, I need this amount of space from you to open this file. And the file will be copied into the memory, into the RAM, and then that would be stored there. So then what happens is now, so usually what happens is when the memory allocation is done, then at a certain point when let's say you close up the app and now you want to play a game. Okay, now when you start the game, that memory allocation is already done, right? Because let's say if 500 megabytes of storage is already allocated to Word, then somebody has to say, hey, Hari, ivarai, then Word ivarai, now we start again, give us the space. That is the role of memory management. So depending on the application, your operating system makes that choice and it tells the system, okay, I need this number of space, can you allocate it? So that's the idea behind the memory management part. So then memory vitarak manage kala hariyanne. Now we need to talk about the resources. So in simple terms, graphic cards. Okay. So the resource management is the next most important thing, which you don't see day to day on day to day basis, but this is one of the core components of the operating system which will handle everything. So you guys have seen the task manager, no? You know the task manager, right? You have seen this in your machine.
Yeah.
Yes. So when you go to the task manager, I think husband, you have also seen this, right?
Sir.
Yeah. So so in Windows you just right click and you go to the task manager and you can open it then and there. But in in Linux, what we have is something like this. Let me show you our task manager. In Linux, we have something like this. So it's a bit techy, I know. So uh, so here you can see these are the number of cores I have. So this has 10. This laptop has 10 cores, and we have 16 GB of RAM, and these are all processors which is currently active and processing. So you can see, let's increase the size. Okay. Here you can see Mac OS, the operating system. What is this? OBS. See, the OBS is taking up to 66% of CPU is being taken up to OBS. I am using OBS Studio to do this green screen effect, so that means that is taking up a massive lot of memory. And then see, the second one is Zoom. Since we are connected through Zoom, Zoom is taking up to close to about 59% of CPU usage, as well as see the memory usage. So this guy OBS is using around 404 megabytes, and the Zoom is using about 327 megabytes. Okay, and let's see. Let's click here and see. Cool. Who is using the most? Yeah, OBS is using the most, no? And then Google Chrome is there. And what is this? Then third place goes to Zoom. Okay. So likewise, so I know these type of task managers, it's a bit hard to read, but this is much powerful than what you get with Windows. But if you take in Windows, you can see you will get something like this, where you have the CPU and memory, disks, Ethernet, the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth connections, as well as if you look at this one, you might find out the speed, the memory capacity, the number of CPUs which is being utilized, and so on and so forth. So Dinal, what is your CPU? How many cores do you have?
Hello.
Yes. Hard to find. Husband, what is your CPU? What do you see here? How many? What is your CPU power, and how many cores do you have?
I don't use, sir.
Your are you connected through a smartphone or a tablet or a PC?
Yeah. Smart.
Smartphone. Okay. Okay, no worries, no worries. Dinal, have you have connected through a PC, is it? A laptop?
So lab.
Ha, may.
I out the PC open.
Oh, no, let me. So, can you share your screen? I'll show you how to find it. I just gave you the access. Okay. Now, right click on the menu. Just, just right click on the Windows icon. No, right click, left right click. Right click and task manager. Nice, okay. So there, go to the third tab. On the left hand side menu, so, click the third. Not that one. Up. That should be the one. Nice. Okay. See, you can see you are having a Intel Core i5 11th Gen 2.4 gigahertz CPU. And how many cores are there? How many CPU cores are there? Can you see it? Four cores, exactly. So this has 4 cores and 8 threads. So I'll explain what is a thread later on. So now here for the moment this is running 205 processors. Processors means I showed you my version. My one had the C processors running. Okay, click on the memory. Memory. No. Yes. Okay. So you can see you have 8 gigabytes of RAM and the speed is running as 3200 megahertz. Right? And then, so you have a empty slot. You can increase your RAM. See, it says slots use 1 of 2. So you can actually add a additional RAM to expand your storage. And then what else? What is there? So form factor is sodium, so you are just using a simple, a normal RAM, and the total available is 1.5 gigabytes, right? Okay, that 8 GB in Windows, 8 GB normally, if you have 8 GB storage, 8 GB is normally not enough. So that goes out easily. Okay, and go to the disk. Click on the disk. Nice, okay. So here in the disk, you can see these are the so what's the capacity? It's 239. So this is a 256 storage device, but you have only 239. And the type is an SSD NVMe, so that is much faster. And what about the storage? Kochchara tiyena? Capacity, you don't see the capacity, no? No, the available capacity is not visible. Okay. And go back to the CPU. Yes, so here the VGA card details are not there, right? Okay, let me show you how to find the VGA card. So just press Windows R. Okay. Click. Okay, now type DX diag DIAG DIAG. Hurry. Okay, now press OK. Okay, click on yes. Cool. Nahari. What is your VGA? Okay, so you're having a HP ProBook and 11th Gen, all the things are there. And where's the VGA information? Display. Okay, so your storage is shared. Click on the display tab on the top. Display top. And okay, there you can see. So your VJ card is your GPU is Intel Extreme Graphics, EX Graphics. So that has an approximate memory of 4 gigabytes. So 4 gigabytes means this is technically getting shared. Okay, so that's why your memory is all used, because the VJ card is literally taking 4 gigabytes of memory from your RAM. So that means since you are using 8 GB, since you have 8 GB RAM, already 50% is gone. 50% is gone to the VJ card, and the rest is left for the operating system to run. That's why your RAM is basically 79% used. So if you increase it with another 8 GB of RAM, then your PC might get another about 50% faster. Okay, so nice. So this is what I wanted to show you. So now you guys can see in this in the drivers area, in the drivers block, you can see a set of driver information. Okay, so these are the points which is important when it comes to the system software. So that particular driver is the one which is being used to run the system. Okay, you can exit it, and can you go back to the task manager? Okay, on the task manager, click on the second tab from the top. Yes, that's the one. Second one. Yes, processors. Okay, now here you can see all the processors which is using the your storage, CPU, and the memory, same as you can see on the book. So here we have the option of seeing everything. So what do you have? You have the CPU, and click on the CPU column. 23% කෙනෙකුට click අන්න හරි. So here now you can see what is using your CPU. So apparently Zoom is using the most, and then we have an audio device. So yes, so since the sound is on, that is using, and I have no clue what is web view manager. I don't know what that is exactly. That should be some sort of a software which will manage the details. So you do have the rest of the applications. Click on memory. Memory memory is same, no? Zoom is using 367 megabytes. So that's a lot. Okay, then can you click on the icon with the gauge? 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth icon. අන්න හරි. නෑ අනිත් එක. Good. Sorry. Not that one. App history, yes. See, now here you can see a history of all the resource usages of the CPU. Okay, now click on CPU time. CPU time click on. Okay, now go. Okay, so apparently for this particular time period, the most of the memory CPU usage has been used on Zoom. හොඳයිනේ. හරි හොඳයිනේ. මොකද ගේම්ස් ගහලා නැහැ PC එකේ නේද? මොකද වෙන දෙයක් කරලා නැහැ, Zoom විතරයි කරලා තියෙන්නේ. Zoom and then Chrome. Okay, so you can easily find out what you were using when you go through this app history. So here you can see you have the CPU usage, as well as you have the network, as well as you have the notifications. So see, Zoom has been using 4.4 gigabytes for this particular time period. Does that count? Yeah. So since you are downloading, since we are streaming, see how much data it is using. Okay, perfect. I just want to show you guys how it works. Thanks Dina. Thanks for sharing. Any questions? You have any questions?
No, sir.
හරි. Okay. Just keep in mind if somebody says මේ මොකක් හරි මොනවාක්වත් කරේ නැහැ හොඳට පාඩම් කරා කියලා කියනවා නම් ඔන්න ඕක ඔපන් කරලා බලලා මොනවද කරලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා. If you open that, you should be able to see what are the list of applications they have been using and the number of data, like megabytes in data of what they were downloading and so on and so forth. Okay, nice, perfect. Okay. Hi. Okay, all good, right? Any questions about that? Azman, I hope you got the idea about it as well. So when you get a chance to look at a PC, just go through this and try to find out. So you guys saw how to get the details. So you just right click on the Windows icon and you take the in the menu you click on Task Manager and there you can see all the details. Super. So then that's about the processors. Then we talk about security. Okay. Now security is one primary important factor when it comes to operating systems, because why we need to make sure that the security is strong and your data is secured, because since it is your personal computer, your PC, you will have personal information in it, right? So you might have access to your bank details, you might have your pictures, you might have your contact details, your emails, your documents, your songs, and so on and so forth. So that means already the system should have multiple different types of securities. So nowadays most of the new laptops and new laptops altogether, PCs doesn't get that much of type of security, since they depends on multiple peripherals. But laptops, they do have biometrics and different types of security features where you can have biometrics like your fingerprint scanned, as well as by default any operating system, they do ask you to put a password and a username, right? So you will be always logging into the system in order to continue access and use the details. So usually since we went through authentications and biometrics, you guys remember we talked about different types of biometrics. We have fingerprint, we have keys, we use retinal scans, and there are multiple different ways of using these biometrics to validate a user, right? So, Dinal, what is your laptop's security system? Do you have a fingerprint scanner?
Yes, sir.
It should. Normally, they do have some fingerprint scanners, right? There is.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That's the thing. Yes. Yeah. As well as, okay. Yes. So, yes. As you can see, so they do have biometrics, as well as based on all these things, but at the same time with the hardware, we have firewalls, right? So we have firewalls to make sure that the network is protected as well, right? So all the data which goes in and out of your PC or your computer is or can be monitored through using a firewall. So these firewalls allows you to actually make sure that the data is secured and your PC end is secured as well. So nobody can access from external sources your PC's details through internet or anything, because that firewall will automatically protect it. Okay, so that will make sure that it will prevent remote accessing a service or an application. Okay. Then, since we were talking about networking and accessing your devices through remotely, we do have also one more point which is known as print spooling. Okay, so the print spooling is, let's say, involves in a process where you will have to, when you start giving a printer couple of print requests, okay, then this will have to make sure that the print is ready in a queue for printing. Okay, it's like this. Now let's say you take your printer, you take a Word document and you print, let's say, 5 files together, right? So you take one file, you click on print, you take another file, again you click on print, you take another file, and again you click on print. So what happens is, now your printer can't take all the data in. So obviously, when you're printing something, it should be able to access the data one at a time, right? One file at a time, and then only it can start to print, right? So in this case, the problem is if you if you give multiple print commands at once, then there is a chance for your printer to, there is a chance that your printer won't be able to handle it. So for that, what we do is we use something known as printer spooling, which will then take your print commands, put them into something called a queue. A queue එකක් කියන්නේ පොඩි list එකක්. අපි දන්නවනේ, we know what is a queue no? So like, let's say if you go to a place, if there's a certain queue, we have to wait in the queue until we get our chance, right? So printers also, like the print command also has a certain type of a queue. So this queue, what it does is it will make sure that the print files will be queued in a specific order. Okay, so this will let you push the data and then make sure the printer gets it one by one. So this actually goes in another way. Right? So now if you take big, like in let's say in companies, we have a central printer. Now in my companies also, I do have places I have worked at, they had like a specific printer designated at a certain location, and the entire office have access to that printer. So what we do is, we all, if we want to take a printout, we just need to open up the printer and put the printer job, right? Like just to get the print. And what happens is, since this is connected in the network, automatically, just like that, the print command will be sent. And the printer is, since the printer is taking print commands from the entire office, let's say close to 100 people, there is a print queue. So හරි හොඳ කටු වැඩක් ඉතින් ගිහිල්ලා, මොකද මේ once you put a print, you have to go near the printer and you have to wait until your one comes out, because since there's like 100 like 10 20 50 odd print commands running on, it's going to be a big hassle, because you have to wait until your print comes out, right? So that particular flow is known as print spooling. Okay, clear the shape? Any questions? Okay, perfect. So just guys, just do highlight and keep these points up, because these are like typical quick question type of points which you might get in your paper while asking what is something like what is print spooling. So the answer should be exactly structured in a way. You don't have to write a lot, but you just need to make sure that you will explain the point exactly according to what is required, and that's it. Okay, we talked about system software. Now we are jumping into application softwares. Okay, so let me change this a bit so that I can yeah. So application softwares, we will obviously we'll learn about few things. So we have already discussed couple of different type of softwares like Word, Excel and all for the moment. And also keep in mind your last two units, unit 5 and unit 6, is entirely focusing on application softwares. Okay, so that has a certain set of applications we will be going through, such as web authoring tools, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and so on and so forth. So just be careful, just keep that in mind. So here we will be learning the outline of this, but we will be like going in depth while we jump into unit 6 later on. Anyway, so application softwares. Application softwares are basically the softwares which you use on day-to-day basis. So best example is what we are using right now, Zoom. So we use Zoom to communicate and have this particular call right now, which uses a lot of system softwares. The example is now, as you guys saw in this the memory usage example which I showed. So it is being consuming a lot of memory, and so in order for that to work, the memory allocation has to be there, and so on and so forth, right? So that entire process has to work in order for this to basically let us access. But then again, as you guys know, all of these softwares are basically based on applications. So we have Excel, our good old Excel, and we might have like word processing softwares. Sorry, we might use on day-to-day basis word processing through letters, writing essays and all, as well as publishing softwares such as let's say Photoshop, InDesign, and we will be using a lot of graphic softwares as well. Like if you take a system like, okay, so if you're building a game, you might use something like Unreal to build the game engine, right? And if you're trying to make a video, you might use a video software such as Adobe Premiere or DaVinci or something like that. So those are all publishing softwares which will be used to create content. Then just keep in mind the main words. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint, publishing software, spreadsheets. Okay, so here also you can see we talk about spreadsheets. So spreadsheets, they allow us to create tables and data lists, as well as we have databases. So databases, they will allow us to create different types of databases. These are all applications. හැමදේම system, ඒ කියන්නේ operating system එකකට run වෙනවා නම්, that means that is going to be that is going to fall under the category of a application software. So we talked about Excel, and then we'll be talking a lot about Excel later on once we jump into unit 5 and 6. There's a massive lot of information where we write these formulas and so on and so forth. So you will learn about this thoroughly, don't worry. And then we have databases. So databases is also one thing important, because we will be using this to store information as well as query and filter and basically utilize different points of data throughout the usage of our database. So there are different types of databases or database management systems, DBMS, okay, which will basically allow you to focus on let's say softwares like Oracle, MySQL, MS SQL, Microsoft SQL, Postgres, and SQLite, and so on and so forth. There's like MongoDB, and there's like a massive lot of different types of database management systems which are created to cater a certain type of users, okay, and certain type of businesses. Example is, okay, so just since we are discussing it, I'll just let you know. So example is if you take something like Oracle. So Oracle is a database system which is designed for enterprise level applications to handle massive loads of data and to process data in a specific way. But MySQL and Postgres, they are also designed to large applications as well. But then again, if you want, you can install MySQL on your PC and you can work on that as well. So likewise, there are different types of databases to make sure that it will perform that particular database activity. But then again, simple terms, if you want to maintain a small database, you can use something like Excel also. So Excel, it actually works as a database if you want to store the data, right? Okay, so that's about the main applications and application softwares. So primarily we, as we just went through, primarily we are talking about the point word processing, Excel's, Excel sheets, word processing, and desktop publishing tools. Spreadsheets and Excel sheets are both are the same, and databases. Okay, so these are the primary application softwares we will be talking about. Okay, so any questions? Clear? No, I think no. Shall I jump to the next one? Okay, so
Okay.
then we jump into web authoring. Okay, so web authoring means technically, as the name implies, it's about making making a website, right? Making a website or maintaining a website which is already there, right? So web authoring, again, we will be learning about web browsers and connectivity once we jump into the second unit, as well as we will be learning in depth about web authoring when we jump into unit 6, okay, where we talk about building a website and so on and so forth. There is a dedicated module for that. So now HTML, so when we call it as web authoring, there is two different aspects of this. Okay, so one is, now example, I'm a web developer. I'm a web developer for a long time. So I of course write my own HTML code. So HTML means hypertext markup language, which we basically use to we used to create websites, right? So the browsers, what they do is they allow you to display an HTML page. That's simply how it works. So now when it comes to HTML, as I said, there are two different types to this. So some people, they want to create their own HTML. That's perfectly fine, like myself, because I want my HTML to be there. I don't want that to be automatically generated, because we basically work with custom complex designs. Okay, so we build applications, websites with very complex layouts and slideshows and animations and so on and so forth. So for that, I prefer to write my own code. But there's always a but in it. So the but is, there are softwares which you can do this also. So there are application softwares which will help you create HTML just by adding some or clicking on some tags and buttons. So example is web authoring softwares. We have this software called Adobe Dreamweaver. So Dreamweaver, what it does is, it will let you create a website just by managing it through the user interface. Okay? So you can add whatever the tags you want, and from the user interface itself, you can keep on building the layout. So it's quite easy and straightforward, as well as these applications, they let you use something known as WYSIWYG editors. Okay, so WYSIWYG editors is, as you can see here, it's what you see is what you get. Okay, so WYSIWYG editors, it will basically show you the output of what you are going to get when you build the code. So that is very straightforward, and this will basically let you create HTML and author web pages by just looking at the interface itself. So you can see you have the interface here, and when you interact with the interface directly, the code underneath it, the code will automatically get generated. Okay, so this will make it much easier for you to maintain and let's say maintain and build websites very easily, because you don't need to learn a lot of programming at the beginning itself. Okay, so that is about web authoring. We will learn about this web authoring. So we have a dedicated chapter in unit 6, which we will basically build a website using these type of web authoring tools. And keep in mind, your second paper, your practical paper, has this type of coding in it. So you must practice this at a certain point, because you have to basically use these softwares to do these particular changes. Then graphic editing we already discussed about bitmaps and vectors. So graphic editors, they allow you to edit and manipulate and change graphical images or screen or any sort of an image, which will basically, by adding text and drawing shapes and changing the lines and so on and so forth. So this will make sure that the images are properly changed and tracked, as well as we can use like different softwares like Affinity Designer, Serif and so on and so forth, which will basically allow us to come up with vector images. Then photo editing, as you guys know, we have photo editing tools such as Photoshop and GIMP, or any open editing tools, or in simple terms, in Microsoft Windows we have Paint, right? Even by using Paint, you can do some changes, like you can edit a photo easily. Okay, so all these features are in basically in these type of application softwares. Then we talk about sound editing. So sound editing is also something very important, which you guys know, making to make songs and to do all this stuff, right? So sound editing primarily, now similar to a picture editing, where what we do is, if it is a photo, we might crop it, we might change it, we might erase something, we might add something new, likewise. But sound editing does the same thing, but in a different way, where you might have different audio clips, and you might use it to mute or add new tracks and increase the volume, change the tempo, and so on and so forth, right? Likewise, it will allow you to manipulate and edit the sound files, so that it will allow you to have a clear allow you to change it. So sometimes, now you guys know, we have these DJs and all, where they create new music, and we have artists who does cover tracks, and lots of different type of options are there. And then presentation software. Presentation software, we have a long module in unit 6, so where we will be talking about different features in PowerPoint, and how we use PowerPoint to create presentations, so that the presentation will attract users, and that will be able to show what we want to the user, right? So there are different types of presentations. We will obviously learn about it, and we will go in depth, because we will be learning about how presentation works and so on and so forth. Then we have something known as, so I hope that is clear. And then finally we have something known as these control applications. Okay, so control applications are another type of applications which will basically let you control a device motion or any sort of a activity from a remote destination. Example is if you take a drone, you have the drone software where you will be using your drone controller to control the drone and send it to a location and make some like work with it, right? So these type of activities can be done using control applications. So there are different types of control applications. What they do is mostly, as you can see, this is basically uh, a space station, so something which happens out of space, but it is controlled from a base station in in the earth, or on the base station on earth, but the outstation the outside communication, the control will be happening completely outside, right? So that's the typical type of a control application, and these applications will be, most of the time it would be something like a set of input output sensors. So you use the sensor to make the decision based on a specific value which you enter from this end. Okay, so that's the typical way how it works. Now example is if you take something like a simple door opening application, right? So here you can see if you have a automated gates thing, motor arena gates. So if you take that type of a gate, what do we need? We have a door rail, we have an outer door, and we have an inner door, and we have a motor, right? So when you come to your house and when you press on the button, it should send a signal and it should open the door. Simple as that, right? Open the gate or open the door. So that is again a software which will basically use a certain set of applications to connect everything together, and it will make sure that it will let you control the device. Okay, so same as that, control applications, they do handle different types of activities such as controlling a temperature as well. So example is, if you take this as a house, in this house we do have different temperature zones in them, and based on these temperature zones you do use a control application to make sure the temperature is controlled and the temperature is monitored, right? So in this case you might use something like a monitoring application, as you can see on the side. So using this monitoring application, you have the option of controlling the overall temperature, right? So these are the ones we call as control applications. I hope you guys remember the one I showed you on my, I have an air purifier at my home. So I showed you how I turn it on and turn it off. So that is also part of a control application, right? So the hardware is at my home. I'm at my office right now, but at the studio right now. So from the studio I can turn on the AC and my air purifier at home, which is couple of kilometers away. So likewise, it will allow you to control the application, and it will make sure that the flow works. Okay, so give me 1 second. Okay, so let me jump through this, because you guys already, these are some few points. So then we do have another type of softwares which is known as project management softwares. Okay, so why do we need a project management software? Primarily to make sure the project structure is properly done, right? So example is, if we are starting a big project, we need to make sure that the project order, likewise the project task order is running orderly, and we have to make sure that the delivery is done on time, right? So in order to make sure that the project delivery is done on time, as well as to make sure the costs and everything is being tracked, we use project management softwares. Okay, And then we talk about communication software. So these are pretty much things you guys know. So web browsers allows users to browse the internet. We have email. Email is basically sending an electronic message. So you have different types of email softwares also. So you have softwares which you install on your machine, so something such as Outlook, as well as you have applications which will be um, hosted online as well, right? So you do have both. Then we have social media. So social media is also application. It's like you can use it as an application because sometimes there are apps which you can install on your machine, and you can use that application to access a social media page or a social media platform, right? And then you have instant messaging such as WhatsApp, SMS, multimedia messages, MMS, right? So all these softwares we do have installed them on our machines, which will let us access. Then we have the final point, which is software licensing. Okay, so software licensing means, now you guys know some of the softwares, they do give you as a trial of software, right? So you can download it and you can install it, but after you use it for a certain time period, then the software gets blocked, right? So that, like that, there are different types of licensing. So primarily we have free and open source licenses. Okay, so then that is means it's free, or the source code is open, so you can use it for free, right? You can share it, you can use it, you can do whatever you want as well as long as the software is intact. But proprietary softwares, this you cannot. So this is something which you must pay and you buy, because what happens is this will basically allow you to purchase some sort of a license. So either you have to go with a distributed version, which you will get the software distributed as a bundle. Okay, so when you buy it, you might find this distributed as a bundle when you buy the laptop or something like that. Okay, so Dina, when you buy the laptop, did you get the operating system installed, or you installed it after buying it?
So I got it installed.
It had pre-installed. Okay, perfect. So that is known as a bundled software. So when you buy the software, buy the hardware itself, the operating system comes as a part of the hardware. But sometimes if you buy the laptop, if you don't get the operating system, then that is quite expensive, because either now there are there are free versions of software such as Ubuntu and all, but the Ubuntu and different types of Linux, but Linux operating systems. But if you are going to use Windows, then obviously you will have to buy a license. Okay, so that's the part with proprietary softwares. So the thing is, now when it comes to softwares, you will get different types of applications. You might find free apps, you might find open source apps, you might find proprietary apps, and all these applications, they also need to receive software updates. Okay, so software updates, they play a crucial role, because when something gets updated or some sort of a bug is found, an update must be released in order for it to be fixed, right? Let's say if the NAS PC, if there is some sort of an issue going on, then obviously you might have to update it, right? So since you have the operating system already pre-installed, then you don't have to worry about it that much, because obviously the updates, you are eligible to receive the updates. But now if you haven't purchased this software, purchase the Windows. So in Windows you have the trial versions also. So if that's the case, then you won't receive the software updates. So that is a very big problem, because when you don't receive the software updates, then it's going to be a problem, because nobody will be able to, sorry, your system will not be up to date, and it will be vulnerable for bugs and compatibility issues. So software updates, what they mainly focus is, they focus on fixing security issues, vulnerabilities, as well as fixing bugs and other issues, as well as improving the efficiency and the performance. So that is also one primary point, as well as improving the usability. So example is, we got the new version of Microsoft Windows release, Windows 11, and I think most of the people, they actually got the new version for free. So why do you get it for free? Is Microsoft wants to give you the latest usability updates, so that you will be able to use it without any issues, and you will be able to utilize the new versions capabilities. Okay, so that is about the software updates. Any questions, guys, so far? Asman, are you all good?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So Dinal, where is Dinal? You can see him walking around. Okay. Hi. Any questions? කොහෙද ඇවිදින්නේ?
The doorbell rang. I had to check.
Okay. Perfect. So any questions up to now what we did?
No, sir.
All good? Okay, perfect. So we'll wrap up the class at this point. So during the next class, we'll jump into memory and processors, and we'll go through it. So guys, please do let me know if I'm going too fast, because since you have covered these points, most of the points, I just want to get up to speed with your school, so that we can focus on our exams more properly. So let me know if you have any questions. Also, at the same time, ping me on WhatsApp or send me a message. Sometimes I might not immediately reply, because if I'm at work, or if I'm at a meeting, or if I'm in a class, I won't immediately reply, but yes, I will reply. So send me a message. You can send me a direct message as well, or you can give me a call also if you want. So I'm available for any of your questions, and if we don't have any questions, we can wrap it up for today.